Hey guys, this is Jay Calder with JAYONBOXING here, giving you a preview and prediction for Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero. But before we get started, please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and be sure to leave your picks, your takes down in the comments section below. I do greatly appreciate it. Now, a little bit of fight info here. As mentioned, this is Ryan Garcia taking on Rolly Romero. This will be in Times Square in New York City, airing on DAZN in the welterweight division with no titles on the line. Well, it's a fight. Don't get me wrong, it's a decent one, actually. It's not one that I expected, but it makes sense for a few reasons when you kind of look at it. For one, Garcia needs someone with a name that seems beatable at this point in time. Romero, to his credit, can bang, and he can also sell a fight. He's a very reasonable, massive underdog in this contest, but still a seemingly interesting enough name. Still, having said all of that, Garcia isn't without his own technical flaws, and Romero, I should mention, has enough power to potentially test some of those potential deficiencies out in this particular fight. Does he actually test them? Well, that's sort of what we're here for, isn't it? But before we get into that, let's ask some of the biggest questions we have heading into this contest. First thing I'd ask is, can both pass the chin check? The odds, spoiler alert, say one of them fails this test based on the over-under, because a knockout victory for someone, namely Garcia, is favorably predicted. That said, both have, shall we call them, questionable beards. Garcia has been dropped hard by Gervonta Davis. Fair enough, Davis can bang, but he was also buzzed by a much lighter punching Devin Haney. And Romero, not as skilled as Haney, but he can crack, and if he lands, he can hurt Ryan. Still, Romero himself was also stopped by Davis, twinsies, and was battered around the ring by Ismael Barroso and also stopped by Isaac Cruz. Granted, all those guys mentioned can pop, but so can Garcia. So really, it's not so much about can they pass the chin check test, but rather who's going to have to take that test first based on who lands first. That will ultimately, most likely, determine this fight. I would also ask what success looks like for Ryan Garcia. Well, a win would be nice. It helps out a lot, actually. Maybe a bit deeper than that, however. I think it's a more mature performance that looks like it could translate into other big fights, where he's not streaky or having off rounds, not getting caught with dumb, awkward shots from Romero. It's where Garcia looks poised, builds well into the fight, and then finishes his foe off while limiting some of his own personal damage. It's a fight. You play in the rain, you're going to get wet, but just an overall more polished performance for Garcia would serve him well here. And finally, I would say, how unlikely is a Rolly win? It's tough to say. Not just based on the odds, just in general, it's tough. What version of either guy shows up? Even if it's a diminished version of Rolly that shows up, can he catch a sometimes erratic Ryan Garcia flush? Probably. When either guy gets caught, can they recover? There are so many different variables that you can go with, so it's very difficult to determine just how likely anything is, regardless of the odds. Yes, you can very well argue Garcia is the reasonable favorite. He is, don't get me wrong. But Rolly winning isn't some impossible outcome. It's just not likely, as mentioned. Having said all of that, let's get into my pick and break this fight down. Starting off with the favorite here, for Garcia to win, I think you want to flick out the left. You have some good speed and some good power in your hands, but it does not mean you need to force either of them. Just get that left hand busy, start touching them with it, and let it come a bit more naturally. Don't force your work. Again, this isn't something that you have to try and press on yourself. It is something you have within you, so just use it organically. When he's in trouble and you've actually landed that left hand, specifically the left hook that you throw so damn well, then you can start to unleash a bit more of that power, a bit more of an assertiveness with that punch. But you don't need to force it. I would also say string together punches. Let your hands go more smoothly. As I mentioned before, you want to get those hands going more loosely, more comfortably. It can start with simple stuff, a simple 1-2. Let it build, tap into the body here and there. Throw the right hand to kind of lead him into that left hook as well that you're trying to throw. It can be very simple stuff, but you just need to get your hands going. You don't want to rely on single shots where you're loading up on these, becoming very predictable, telegraphing your work, and giving Rolly a chance to kind of duck and dodge some of that heavier work. I would also say avoid the long lulls. You know, you can be inactive in fights, and that's one of your biggest detriments, in my opinion. It just doesn't help you, especially against someone like Rolly, who can build into a fight if you let him. I mean, he's done it again against decent fighters. Don't let him do that. It's a bad trait in general. It's going to be exploited in even bigger fights, but you certainly don't want to build that habit in this fight, where you should be comfortable and winning. It gives Rolly too many more chances than is necessary, and you just want to limit that to give yourself the best chance for success here. I'd also say work your simple setups. Yes, you want to be busy, but don't overcomplicate it. You know, it's simple stuff. Again, feints, jab, make Rolly miss, and then counter him. Stuff like that where you can really hurt him without having to put yourself out there too much. Turn the jab over from time to time, get that left hook in, and then line up that right hand, and back and forth you go with those shots, and you'll have a much better chance of catching him with something he doesn't see coming because of those setups. And I'd finally say expose his lazy jab. You know, Rolly throws a slow jab and his guard is low, which is a terrible combination in general, but it's certainly bad against someone who throws a mean left hook like you do. If you get busy and keep loose, you can counter it well and go over top of it and land with that left hook with some real authority. You're more likely to get that big shot to land when you time it and read him a bit more that way and just expose the lazy jab he has. And you can do this by staying busier and working those setups in general, getting him to make those mistakes. Now, switching over to Romero. For Romero to win, you want to push Garcia backwards. Now, in general, I think Garcia may try to box here and there, so he might be comfortable going backwards, but you have to apply the sort of pressure that makes it much more uncomfortable. You want to force him back, make him shell up, make him look to try and land those big shots more erratically so that you can kind of catch him in between those blows and maybe punch him when he's punching. It's going to be dangerous, but you're both punchers regardless, so it's going to be dangerous. I would also say draw Garcia into shots, and that's going to lead more into those kinds of things when you're pushing him back, because he'll eventually feel the pressure and need to try and draw himself out to try to get back into that fight. When he lunges or throws those big bombs or tries to throw them, throw with him, as mentioned, and that can be a way you can make him pay for those kinds of mistakes that he will sometimes make. You'll need to time it, you'll need to get to him first, so you want to keep your shots nice and straight and down the middle while he's trying to hook, specifically with that left hook, and I think if you can time that well, you can have some success with it. And sort of mentioning his left hook, I think it's imperative. Keep your right hand high. Forget whatever else I say. This is the one that has to happen or you lose this fight. If you keep that guard down and allow for that left to tag you too many times, you will be dropped. If you don't, and you actually have some discipline with it, Garcia is limited tremendously. Naturally, that's what you should be leaning into. If you make it easy, it's going to be a short night, but if you can keep that to your face at least enough to guard yourself, you'll have a much harder time of trying to land it so flush. Still, as mentioned, it's going to be a dangerous game for both of you, specifically you, with less reach and less speed. You're still going to need to get inside and force some exchanges. You're going to need to push him back where that power won't matter as much. The speed might still be there, but it might not have just as much impact if you're able to get him a bit more erratic and a bit more under the pressure that you might be trying to put him under. Ultimately, you're going to do much better in those more awkward, not so perfect moments. You know, that's who you are as a fighter. You know, he merely adopted the darkness. You were born in it, molded by it. You are an awkward fighter. So force some exchanges, make him a bit ugly at times, and then make him pay by tagging him. Once you force those exchanges, he's going to make the sort of mistakes that you can then hopefully spot and in the right moments land some of your own bigger blows to test his chin. Because again, he has failed that test in the past. And this, of course, can all lead to setting up the right hand. Once you're pushing him back and he's having to overthink things and can't quite seem to figure out and read you so much, your bread and butter is a nice solid right hand, and it's a shot you're going to want to try and throw. You have less reach, of course, so you're going to need to step in with it a bit, maybe even jab to get inside while keeping that guard up. But when you can do that, that straight shot might get there faster than maybe the more speedier left hook of Garcia and have a more of an impact on him that could potentially even limit that left hook if he knows he's getting tagged in between. And of course, when inside, don't forget the body. Attack the body. He's been hurt there before. That should be reason enough. But also, even if he doesn't get dropped by it, it's going to slow him down, sap some of his energy, weaken him, and give you more opportunities to have your own success. So if you can tie all of this together, I think you have a pretty solid shot. Well, in terms of my pick here, in case you haven't picked up on it, I'm definitely leaning towards Ryan Garcia. I think he's just too fast, too big, and hits too damn hard. And of course, when you couple that with Romero not exactly being a textbook fighter, it spells disaster for the young man. He might be tagged himself, that being Garcia, might even be hurt, but I think he lands the left hook often enough, and when he does, and lands it flush against Rolly when he's rushing in, it hurts him bad. Romero may rise, but the follow-up finishes him off, and the fight will be donezo. Winner, Ryan Garcia via mid-fight stoppage. Now, in terms of the betting odds here, we have Garcia as a pretty sizable favorite, coming in at a minus 750, with Romero coming in at a plus 470. We also have the over-under set at 6.5, with the over and under coming in at minus 115 each. So the money line. Yeah, I got no interest in the money line at all. Don't have enough faith in Romero, and there's no value in a Garcia line next. The over-under is interesting. I think the line is set well, but if you can buy a round or two, do so in my opinion. I'd move the line to like a 5.5 if I could. The odds won't be as good for the over in that situation, but I'd feel more confident in it. You'd still get decent value, probably around 230 or something like that. It's not bad, and I think it's a much more attainable goal based upon at least what I want to predict. But in any event, those are your odds. And my prediction record as of this recording is 4-1 with 2 exact, but let me know your thoughts, your bets, your picks, all that good stuff down in the comments. And of course, check out the social media up top. Check out JAYONBOXING.com, subscribe, and check out another video here. Until next time.